Welcome, acolytes. Right now, we are actually in a freaking bad spot because every site tries to censor everything. I have a theory, or it's just a brain fart basically, because I think that it has something to do with stop killing games. And right now, everybody just tries to rip as much power as they can, as long as the initiative is going on. But that's just a far reach thing that I was thinking about, and probably not true, but the timing is a coincidence that all those things go on after the initiative actually started to grow. But hey. And what do I think about it? Fuck them. Fuck every single one of them. This stuff is only the beginning, and they're gonna start censor games to such a degree that we won't have anything. And by the way, every single one of those people actually supports cuties. If you want to know what that is, well, that's basically CP, soft CP. I rest my case.
Over the past couple of days, we've all been talking about our entertainment being censored at the hands of credit card companies. Nintendo, Valve, and
Yes.
Itch.io all put out statements on how...
Also politically. Politicians also try it, and even this group that actually censored Steam and other things, it's just... I just don't know why, but it is what it is.
Now they had to bend the knee to payment processors, but Itch.io took it a step further. They de-indexed all of the adult content on their platform, and that means that they hid over 20,000 games from view, and now they're talking about how they have to take it on a case-by-case basis, and they are going to have to individually review every single game, and they are getting absolutely wrecked for this decision. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get it...
Oh, good. If they're getting wrecked, that's good. I actually hope for something positive. I didn't expect it, but I hope for something positive coming out of this. And if they're just getting wrecked, fair enough.
Into the topic. If you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I understand that right now the internet in general is going through a big purge by governments. Governments are really trying to control what we are seeing, what we are consuming. I mean, all of this coincides with the UK's Online Safety Act going into effect, which I will cover in another video. It's just a lot of information that I have to compile, but basically it means that platforms that allow users to share content such as Twitter/X are now required to enforce an age verification system in an attempt to prevent minors from accessing potentially sensitive content, which I think is rich given the UK is pushing this, and the UK just lowered their voting age to 16. So they're saying in one case 16's a kid, and in another case 16's a full-blown adult, but...
True. And it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Voting is something that I would literally ban a lot of people from, or at least take something that they have to do beforehand before they can even vote. And letting a 16-year-old, acolytes, every single one of you knows what dumb fucks 16-year-olds are. There are exceptions to the rule, but the rule says if you're 16, you're a dumb fuck. And what the F? This just doesn't make sense. Protect children, but then giving them the right to vote? That's insanity.
I'll digress. We just had seen Itch.io go ahead with de-indexing all of their adult NSFW content from their browse and search pages, but they took it a step further by recently saying they have to take it on a case-by-case basis, which, sure, in theory is a good idea, because that means that games will actually have to be looked over and they can't falsely be flagged, but on the flip side, that means it's going to be significantly longer wait times for developers to actually get their content on the platform or to get it indexed again. So, Itch.io adheres to strict card processing network rules prohibiting non-consensual content, and there's a list here. It's not particularly surprising given this is the same exact content that Steam has recently been targeting. Basically, anything that is non-consensual, characters or themes that are barely legal. Steam over the past couple of years has been heavily targeting high school settings and university settings. One of my first videos on the channel 6 years ago talking about censorship actually had to do with this. Steam had started really heavily banning high school and university settings then because they said character ages were questionable, even if developers said they were clearly over 18. Things like force-related, revenge porn fetishes, all these different things are no longer allowed. They're unable to support the sale of any works containing to these topics. They also
yeah, this will continue on for a while, but if you want to control this, a lot of people will be, well, furious about this. And I hope that the credit card companies, right now they have a lot of power. But I would say, if you actually start to look for alternatives, they will actually come down. But also the optimal way would be, oh, Visa doesn't want to accept our thingy-bob? Okay. Banned from a country. That will definitively strike them down a bit. But
said it's almost impossible to come up with an exhaustive list of unacceptable products to sell. So often we have to take content reviews one at a time. This is where I really have a problem because they are basically saying, oh, we can't put in the work and effort to create a list, and that's why we have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Meaning, one day they could ban a game that is in a university setting and characters are romantically involved, and the next day they could allow it. So it's going to become extremely inconsistent. And that means that it's going to be very hard for developers to know while they're developing their game if it's going to be allowed on a platform like this. Platforms need to have clear and concise guidelines for their content creators, and of course they don't here. If an issue arises with your account that isn't already covered by our policy, then we will contact you and share what options you may have. If you've collected money while in violation of these terms, we may be forced to refund or freeze all pending transactions, as accounts that are in violation of our terms are not eligible for payouts. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who say it's really not that big of a deal. I don't want sex content on the internet, right? I don't think that people should be allowed to consume this content. Boo-hoo, cry me river and float upstream, okay? I am anti-censorship for a reason, and it's not particularly about the content that I care about. I personally would not consume sex simulator games. I'm fine with there being sex in games like, I don't know, The Witcher, because that just has to do with the plot, but I wouldn't buy a sex sim game, though I do believe it should be allowed to exist for adults. If it's rated properly, then that target audience, which would be adults, should be allowed to consume it. It is fiction. We are talking about entertainment. We are not talking about real people here, and these digital acts do not actually harm anybody in the real world.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's actually fair enough. I mean, I am sure there are some exceptions, but right now I actually agree with her. This is just, why would you even do that? Why would you even ban it? It's just a few freaking Karens coming out and being just Karens. I mean, for fuck's sake, those problems. Just, I wish there was a system where you could just vote Karens to actually get a job, a really hefty job, like something on the Müllhalde, like junkyard. Just go in there for a month, or even 3. I don't care. 3 a year. And if they give up, they are just excluded from society. Yeah, it's harsh, but sorry, the reality is that stuff like this isn't even half as harmful as the stuff that they do. Maybe even I just put them into jail. It's fine. Every Karen, jail.
There are hundreds.
Every single Karen, jail.
to thousands of people over on the itch.io boards who are furious over this decision. It's the same on X, where people are talking about Itch and Valve. People are just unhappy with the fact that content is being censored. And unfortunately, this could be a very slippery slope. I don't like to be doom and gloom, but if this content is being censored right now, right, it could evolve into just any content with sex, any content with romantic relationships, any content that could be deemed overly sexual or violent and bloody and gory. Like, anything could be censored if this ends up becoming the norm. So there are tons of threads talking about adult and erotic tag games gone. All of the games in the erotic and adult tag sections gone. All of a sudden, what happened? People talking about how all of them were de-indexed. Some pages may receive a content notice. But it's a very, very long thread of people talking about how unhappy they are. And sure, I understand that Itch is trying to keep their platform afloat. But on the flip side, it's still unacceptable. And I know that they're only partially to blame, and the other part of the blame goes on payment processors, but none of them are innocent here. There are a lot of people talking about what Collective Shout is and how they're a group firmly known for their conservative and anti-pornography stances, and while it attempts to present itself as a nonpartisan organization, it is predominantly associated with conservative values and ideologies, which, keep in mind, J.K. Rowling would fall under this same category. That's why there are people who call J.K. Rowling a TERF, because she says a man is a man and a woman is a woman. It's the same thing with Collective Shout, though at the end of the day, Collective Shout is not a good organization. So don't hear the word conservative and think, oh my gosh, actually, maybe they could be saved or something. I've seen a couple of people say that online, which is just wild to me. New content guidelines dropped. They are bad. Continuing the theme of making changes and hoping no one will notice, new content guidelines dropped, and they're not good. Things that are now prohibited, non-consensual content.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reality of the situation is that most normal people won't even look at it until they get actually scratched by it. And then it's basically too late. So I am just hoping that for the freaking, just for our sake, that we can get those freaking Karens out, those rulings out, or we're just effed. It's just, what the F is going on here? That content like this just gets banned and not redone. It will bleed over to freaking everything. And this is one of the reactions where I think it's because the Chinese actually take over a large portion of, well, the gaming industry with, guess what? Sexy women. Yeah, who knew? Sexy women actually sell freaking games. No shade. But yes, this is just some... This is step by step. The pendulum cannot swing on the other side quick enough. I mean in the middle. But right now I also seen a few actual activists on the right side that actually think that this is a good thing. So, you know, no site is safe in this case. Don't believe anyone except they prove themselves to be trustworthy.
And as pointed out by somebody on Blue Sky, note that it says contains. That's broad. Under these terms, most of the A Song of Ice and Fire series would be banned. That's what I've been saying. There are so many pieces of content that would be banned. I mean, hell, even things like 1984 would be banned. We'd have A Song of Ice and Fire banned. We'd have The Realm of the Elderlings banned. We'd have Dune banned. We'd have Wheel of Time banned. Anything that has to do with underage characters could be banned. Anything that has to do with these adult themes could be banned. It is not good.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
And by the way, there is a difference between something that just shows constant freaking, how is it called? Violence against children, and something that just includes it because of a story. That's a giant difference. Like cuties. Soft CP. Something like, let's just say Dark Souls, That also includes, well, some of the thematics, even against children. Still, nothing to it. It's just part of the story.
Deeply disappointing. Even forced disclaimers would be whatever, but setting basis for removing mythologies they don't like, ancient Greek or modern like Christianity, as well as books or games like the ones mentioned. Mouthwashing, for example, pretty grim, not exactly for kids, although most of it would go over their heads anyway, but without question, not something that should be remotely restricted. Yeah, I can agree with you completely. It looks like they're just starting to update their new terms as far as I can see, but holy fuck, I don't like where this is going, especially since they state it's almost impossible to come up with an exhaustive list of unacceptable products to sell, so often we have to take content reviews one at a time. So yeah, one day you could get one employee that okays something, and another day that an employee bans something, and I'm sure that there are going to be cases that get around the payment processor, because the payment processors aren't looking at this on a case-by-case basis either. They're just assuming, right, that Itch.io is doing their due diligence, that they're doing a good enough job. If we take a look at their X page, there are thousands and thousands of comments on their posts saying, what the actual F, this is ridiculous. Lots of people linking the MasterCard Visa activist petition. It says, tell MasterCard, Visa, and activist groups stop controlling what we can watch, read, or play. It's currently sitting at 18,000 signatures, so I will link it down below. Take the couple of minutes, sign it. All of the signatures do help, but F Visa, F MasterCard, F Collective Shout. This is why Collective Shout went private. It's not that they are backing down on their stance. It's not like they've realized the wrong that they've done. It's just that so many people hate them online right now, and so many people are furious at them. I don't necessarily think it's really their fault that this has happened either. Like, sure, maybe they reported this content and reported the platforms to the payment processors, but the payment processors were clearly going to push for this regardless of their involvement or not. F puritanical payment processors. All my homies hate puritanical payment processors. Just think that that's...
By the way, right now, I am actually against it, or actually against toxic shit like that. But for F's sake, this is the only thing that works. That's the problem with the entire thing. I can morally grandstand and say, I don't like it. But at the end of the day, this is what works. This is the only thing that works. If you try to talk with them like normal human beings, nothing will happen. You will be just ignored. But if you show them some amount of hate, something will move. Something will happen. Something will go in the direction that you need. And this is something I despise. I accept that it's the only way to actually move forward, so I won't judge those people. Because, well, as I said, there is no other option left. And if you have another option, use that. But for F's sake, I'm still not a fan of it.
So funny. You destroyed your own site to heed actual P's whose only interest is to destroy entertainment. Reminder that Collective Shout is a radical religious group that wants broad censorship across media. Yeah, they've been calling for censorship in the video game industry for years. At this point, since before Gamergate 1, they were pushing for GTA, Detroit Becoming Human. Hell, I'm surprised they didn't go after like The Witcher or Cyberpunk, just because they changed their target to social media instead of video games, because they...
No, those games won't. Right now they are avoiding mainstream games, because if you censor The Witcher 3, a lot of people will notice. A lot of people will notice. And they're in deep trouble. But if they do it step by step by step, then it's fine. Then they can get away with it.
They thought that that was going to gain them more relevancy quickly, but these people don't care about protecting women or girls or individuals. They care about lining their own pockets. So yeah, Itch.io right now has definitely been receiving a lot of backlash. Valve has been receiving a lot of backlash, and I can't say I'm particularly shocked given the state of the internet right now. There is so much censorship going on, and this is why I will continue to cover this. While yes, it is not just Itch.io's fault, the way that they've addressed this situation hasn't led anyone to trust them. It hasn't really instilled much.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't care, but they are one of the people that are at fault. And if it hits them, fair enough. I mean, I don't care about them. Those fucks make more than I did in my entire life, and they fuck shit up to such a high degree where I can't even touch my entertainment. So yeah, F you for that. Freaking cushy jobs doing nothing the entire day, and then fucking shit up, not knowing their place. It's just disgusting.
Confidence or faith in me personally about the future of this platform, and I know that this is going to be a very big blow for indie developers, and I just hope over the next couple of weeks it continues to address this, but in a much clearer.
Yeah. Daravark, as always, on freaking point. I just despise the way that it's going right now. But hey, except for actually spreading the message and hoping that, well, people will react to it, I can't do much more. If my channel was way bigger, maybe I could do more, because the farther my influence goes, the better it is. But as long as I don't hit mainstream, won't happen. Who knows? Maybe. But as it is, acolytes, good night.